I'm going to start over.
He's going to start.
Welcome to the Solid Verbal. And now, Dan and Ty.
Dan Rubenstein, we've got one big preview episode left. As you know, we did a bunch of conference previews over the last 6 weeks or so. We even did a look back at our preview episodes on the episode that dropped on Thursday with our friend Brett Ciancia from Pick Six Previews.
Yeah.
We have been teasing this one, though, for weeks, if not months. And this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where it matters. Playoff predictions, a few other predictions. We're even going to sprinkle in some fantasy things at the end of this episode. We got Verballer predictions as well. We have a Reverb segment that we're going to play today. This is a jam-packed show right here on the Solid Verbal. Welcome back, my friend. How are you today?
I'm great. So this is a receipts episode, right?
This is
an accountability episode, as the Gen Zers like to say, receipts. So we are putting our receipts out into the ether. If it turns out that we are right, you got to give us our, hold on, I'm looking at my Gen Z legal pad, flowers, Ty. You got to give us our flowers. And if not, you can say we are absolutely sus. And that's fine with me, Ty, because it takes a certain amount of courage to do what we're doing here today. And it's the courage to be wrong, right? It's the courage to be Desmond Howard. Love Desmond Howard. Putting out his Pitt, Baylor, and the college football Final Four. What was A&M, Pitt, Baylor? I forget the fourth team. And it was tremendous. It was so good. Tremendous. But you know what? It's courageous, Ty, to go against the current. So he was trying to be an intellectual college football salmon, just swimming against the screen, trying to spawn good ideas about who's going to end up in the college football Final Four. And that's what we're doing here today, Ty. We're trying to be our inner college football Chinook.
You said a lot there.
Thank you.
I agree with all of it. Thank you for being you. And thank you, kind Verballerhood, for stopping on back here. Hit follow, hit subscribe so that you don't miss any of these episodes. We've been getting questions from new folks, Dan, left and right. How often do we record? What type of thing do we do during the season? 3 episodes a week, as we have for many years over now. Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. Sunday morning is the recap. Actually, if you're watching out on YouTube now, you can watch the recap live every Saturday night at midnight. We're going to start that up after week 1, not week 0. Tuesday episodes, bigger picture stuff, whatever we didn't get to on the Saturday night / Sunday morning recap, we talk about it there. We also talk about bigger picture narratives. And then Thursday, of course, Thursday is when we make our picks. We preview the week ahead. We do all sorts of goofy stuff on that Thursday episode.
Yes.
Though I think we get more people listening to the reactions episode. The Thursday one is really where you and I go a little hog wild. And we get creative with how we're previewing the week ahead.
Weekly
that's
nicknames.
What you have to look forward to.
We've got, what are the weekly nicknames? I don't even remember year to year. We've had Skinamax Saturday, Centaur Saturday, right? We took the idea that ESPN is Separation Saturday. And we just make a bunch of U-turns and go off a bunch of exits. Yeah, that's fine.
That's what you have to look forward to.
Yeah.
If you hit the follow, if you hit the subscribe.
Would love it.
If you've already done that and you like the show, rate or review. All that stuff goes a very long way, towards helping new people find what it is that we do.
Yes, sir. Hey, real quick, it'd be great if you could consider subscribing to the YouTube channel down below. It really helps us out.
Let's do it.
I'm ready.
Lock of the week.
I'm playing the lock sound a little bit early because these are our predictions, Dan.
All right, receipts.
The voice goes up an octave or 2 when we're talking through our playoff brackets, when we're talking through awards, when we're talking through all of this stuff. So again, the Verballerhood sent in a bunch via our Patreon, which I will discuss here in just a little bit if you want to get in on that fun. There is more fun to be had at verballers.com. I will, again, detail that later. But without further ado, Mr. Rubenstein, we have gone through all of our conference projections at this point. We have laid out who we think is winning all of these conferences. We did give ourselves the grace of having second thoughts on our last episode. And I don't know about you, but as I was trying to fill out my field of 12, I did have a bit of second thoughts, some doubt creeping in. And I do think I veered a little bit, at least from what I said in some cases over a month ago. Just the benefit of hindsight, thinking through some of these things a little bit more. Not any drastic shifts, mind you, but I really had a hard time coming up with team number 12.
Same. Absolutely.
In this
Well,
field.
Notre Dame screws this all up.
They do.
Because you kind of plant a flag. I'm not going to speak for you, but you kind of plant a flag with regard to the SEC and Big Ten that at least one of them, probably only one of them for the time being, is getting 4 teams in.
I agree with that.
And then you're like, well, do I feel better about the ACC or the Big 12? And right now it seems a lot of us seem to believe that the ACC has stronger teams at the top, whereas there is more sure thing quality in the Big 12, which almost hurts the conference because then you get a mess of 9-3 or 8-4 type teams that are all clearly high
derby.
quality.
It's a demolition derby.
Right. And so if you're again going to say 2 teams for the ACC, 1 team for the Big 12, 7 between the SEC and the Big 10, you're now at 10 teams. You have a G5 representative in whoever, and Notre Dame.
Yep.
And there we are. Right?
And there we are. That's right.
And there's your 12.
There's your 12.
If you believe in Notre Dame as a top 12 team this year. Yeah.
That is a big time if. So again, just to reiterate, they have changed how they handle the seating this year. It does give you a little bit more reason to pay attention to those weekly polls that the College Football Playoff Committee puts out. You and I don't necessarily set our watch by that special every week that ESPN airs, presumably just to get more commercial inventory.
Right.
That's at least what it looks like to me for the first couple iterations of it. But eventually when they give you their top 12 ranking, that now factors in with respect to who is getting the first round buys. Remember, last year, if you won a conference, if you were one of the 4 highest ranked conference champions last year, you were guaranteed an automatic first round bye. This year, they're going straight seeding.
Yes.
Whoever the top 4 teams are, regardless of whether they win their conference or not, those are the 4 teams that are going to get a first round bye. So a subtle change, everything else remains intact. We will talk through what all that means. Again, if you're winning your conference, if you're in the Power 4, in all likelihood, you will be getting an automatic bid in. That part is still in the rules as well. Why don't we start off with your bracket, Dan, if you're feeling saucy today?
I'm always feeling
okay
saucy.
With that?
Yes, of course.
What was your approach to putting this together? Were you going through conference by conference? Okay, here is who I picked to win the SEC. We guarantee that team a slot. Then I am counting down from that point, looking at my tiers, A, B, C, and D get in. Like, what was your strategy for trying to put this together?
I mean, guessing, first of all.
Sure. Yeah, none of this should be taken at face value.
Yeah.
Okay, this is all going to be terribly wrong by the time the field is eventually set in early December.
Yeah. At least we're doing this in mid-August. Our friends Andy Staples and Ari Wasserman are like, all right, it's Valentine's Day, so let's figure out who our top 12 is. Okay. That's an impression of nobody. I have 2 teams from the Big Ten in the top 4 and 2 teams from the SEC in the top 4 and an independent team. Yes, your UConn Huskies at number 5.
Of course.
I have my number 1 overall seed is Ohio State this year.
Wow.
Is Ohio State.
Okay.
And
so you've got Ohio State winning the Big Ten. We talked this through.
I had Ohio State over Penn State in the Big Ten championship, and I'm sticking with it.
Okay.
Why? It's not that. I mean, they're obviously a top 3 or 4 team. It seems right now in terms of talent, in terms of potential, there's obviously changes to coordinators and a loss of talent on both sides of the ball. I just think what they bring back, what their schedule looks like, I feel good about them. Basically, you're saying who are the most likely teams to go 11-1 or 12-1 in this case?
In effect, yeah. And what's interesting about this, the Big Ten and the ACC in particular,
yeah,
there's a lot of disagreement over how the SEC shakes out. There's a lot of disagreement, more disagreement as you might expect on the Big 12 side. You can make a case for 7 teams if you really wanted in the Big 12. But there seems to be a general consensus, the top 3 in the Big Ten being Penn State, Ohio State, and Oregon in some order, and the very top of the ACC being Clemson.
Sure.
Those 2 things, I think, across the board, based on what I've seen, those seem to be the 2 things with respect to conference standings that most people tend to agree on.
Yes. So I have Ohio State. I think their upside is fantastic. When you have the gravitational weapon of Jeremiah Smith, I think it's going to open up so much. Everybody's going to be freaking out well ahead of time about what to do with Jeremiah Smith. And hopefully the combination of Brian Hartline and Ryan Day can figure out what to do with the best possible gift that you can have on your offense. So
Okay.
they're my number one team. So we don't even know who's starting at quarterback. Could be Julian Sain, could be Lincoln Keenholz, but I'm going Ohio State here. I think in a year where so many teams have so many questions, I still feel good about their answers. So I'm going Ohio State 1. My 2 seed, or unless you want me to go to my 12 seed.
Dude, whatever order you want, dog. Whatever you're into.
All right, my 2 seed is the Alabama Crimson Tide, who I guess I have winning the SEC. I don't know how they could get to the 2 seed without winning the SEC. Unless I guess they were 12-0 and lost in a freak way to a 2-loss team, something like that.
I think you had Texas.
Did I have
winning the
Texas in
SEC
our preview?
when we did the preview? Yeah.
Okay. Well, I've revised things, Ty.
That's fine. No. This is good. This is healthy.
This is my official receipt episode. I have Alabama as my 2 seed and SEC champion.
Okay.
I don't feel great about it.
Who's 3?
My 3 seed is the Penn State Nittany Lions.
Okay, so you've got Penn State playing for the Big Ten but not winning it.
Correct.
4, I'm assuming, is Texas, and 5 must be Notre Dame, the way that
4
you
is Texas, 5 is Notre Dame. I like Alabama to have a very nice year 2 bump, as Brett Ciancia mentioned on our previous show. I think they're going to be better at quarterback in terms of throwing the ball downfield, or even throwing the ball 12 yards down the field consistently. Their starting point with a defensive front, what I expect to be high-level quarterback play, their own gravitational receiver. I think they're just solid to very, very good at too many places. So I'm going Alabama by just a nose to take down Texas in the SEC championship. As of August 14th, we're recording this.
August 14th, yes, of course. So let me flash up your bracket here for people watching the video. We'll talk through this for the audio crowd as well.
Yeah.
As you said, your top 5 is Ohio State, Alabama, Penn State, Texas, and then Notre Dame.
Yes.
Outside of that top 5, though, this is when you start getting to first-round matchups and where it starts to get at least a little bit more interesting.
Yes.
So your first-round matchup featuring Notre Dame, the 5 seed at home, is a rematch with the Miami Hurricanes.
I'm leaning towards that being a revenge spot, that Notre Dame will lose at Miami with a new starting quarterback, young starting quarterback, inexperienced starting quarterback, and then beat Miami in a playoff matchup.
Your 6th seed is the Clemson Tigers playing host to the Ole Miss Rebels. So you got Ole Miss in here, which I think is a headline in and of itself. Clemson hosting a game would be awesome.
Yes.
For that crowd. Clemson pretty far down, though, on this list.
Yes. Well, Clemson opens with LSU, and they won't be punished if they lose that game, unless they lose that game in like a crazy demonstrable way, but they opened their season up last season doing that as well. So ultimately, they can bounce back. We know they have the ability to bounce back. So I like Clemson's schedule a good deal, but I think when push comes to shove, I think they're probably going to drop 2. I think they'll drop 1 to a quality team and 1 to a freak occurrence.
I think you're nuts for saying that.
I know you do.
You've got your Oregon Ducks as a 7 seed playing host to the Boise State Broncos, who you've got here as a 10. You've got Oregon moving on.
Yes.
I think we're in agreement that Boise is the G5 representative, though I will say I did give a second look to both Tulane and James Madison.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the other schools that I'm eyeing up potentially for that spot. Even though Tulane now is bringing in Jake Retzlaff from BYU, I still think across the board, maybe outside a quarterback, they are worse at every offensive position. And so that's the rub for me on Tulane. And James Madison, I like JMU.
Mm-hmm.
I have questions about how they look against better competition. And I think that question is going to come up repeatedly when we talk about the Dukes this year. But I'm still like keeping them in the back of my mind potentially for that spot. Certainly, if they got in, they'd be the 12.
Yes.
But you've got Oregon over Boise State here in the first round. And then your other matchup is the 8 Georgia playing host to the 9 Arizona State, with Georgia moving on.
Big 12 champ Arizona State, 1 team coming in from the Big 12. I have ASU there, but Georgia ultimately, by the time the end of the season rolls around, like it could get a little bit bumpy with a lot new. I think they're going to come into their own by Halloween. And so I think they're going to be a strong team that we might even think is playing like the best team in the SEC, but because of the record doesn't play in the SEC championship game. And I have them beating ASU in that first round and setting up a matchup against Ohio State.
Now, I like what you did here in the second round because you didn't go straight chalk. I think it's very easy to go straight chalk when you do this.
Yeah, of course.
It didn't go straight chalk last year for a multitude of reasons, but you've got Georgia over Ohio State in the quarterfinals.
I do.
Why do you favor Georgia over Ohio State?
For the reason I just said, that Georgia is going to come into its own, that there's so much talent on defense that I don't think Gunnar Stockton needs to be incredible. I'm gambling a little bit on these receivers taking a jump after a disappointing 2024, but they've added reinforcements to positions they feel like they've needed depth at, and I don't think Kirby Smart has accidentally played for as many national championships and in as many playoff games as he has. And so there's some consistency with the coaching staff as well. So I don't know. I like Georgia being a little bit overlooked this year. I like that for them. So
I love that for you.
I love
absolutely.
that for you. So I like Georgia over Ohio State here, that ultimately it's just going to be a question of Georgia's defense being able to run with Ohio State's offense, and then perhaps Ohio State's defense not being as fully formed as they should be.
The other quarterfinals that you have on your bracket, you have Texas over Notre Dame. You have Penn State over Clemson.
Tom Allen Bowl, baby.
Tom Allen Bowl, of course. And you've got the Alabama Crimson Tide over your Oregon Ducks. So that would set up a Final Four of Georgia against Texas, Alabama against Penn State. It would be 3 SEC teams in
Correct.
the semifinals.
I think the pendulum swings back to the SEC this season in terms of representation in that Final Four.
You've got Texas over Georgia. You've got Alabama over Penn State. I'm curious you're thinking specifically around those two matchups.
Sure. And by the way, so Texas is over Notre Dame.
Yep.
I just think you're going to need to score a certain amount of points to beat Texas, and I'm not positive Notre Dame is there quite yet. And if you can stop Notre Dame on the ground, it makes it a little bit more challenging. That's a big if, though. So, yes, I have Texas over Georgia there. I just think for the same reason, you're going to have to score a certain number of points to beat Texas. And that's a very obvious thing that now that I hear myself say it out loud, you got to score more points than the other team. But I don't think Texas is going to be involved in a number of 13-10, 14-13 type games. So I'm going to give the edge to the team that I think has the most pop on both sides of the ball. And to me, that's Texas against Georgia there. I have Penn State over Clemson because I just think there's too much experience. And I don't know. I think they'll be able to run the ball. I think that's going to be an interesting thing there. Penn State should be able to run the ball on Clemson. I have Alabama over Oregon. Too much talent on the Alabama defense and too much new without a known go-to guy for Oregon. Hopefully it's DeCorian Moore for the Ducks, but we'll see.
Right.
You want to know why Alabama over Penn State?
I do, yeah.
I've watched Penn State football in big spots before.
Ooh.
That's it.
Man. Sometimes the truth hurts. I mean, I'm with you.
You're gonna ask me. I don't know where this game is going to be played. The semifinals this year, one's at the Peach, one's at the Fiesta Bowl. So you're asking me to go to either Atlanta or Arizona, have Drew Aller throw into the teeth of the Alabama secondary, and come away with a win. I'm not there. Happy to be proven wrong. Here are my receipts. Alabama over Penn State there. Texas over Georgia, I mentioned Watt there. And then Texas over Alabama. In a game that big, I'm going to give the edge to quarterback. I'm going to give the edge to coordinators who've been there before, whereas, Alabama doesn't have that on defense. Obviously, Ryan Grubb has called a national championship game, as is Kalen DeBoer, but
Sure.
I think Arch Manning's just a little bit more seasoned. By the time they get to this point, everybody's going to be seasoned. But
yeah.
I'm going with pass rush and quarterback to win that game. And that's a question I think Texas will be more able to answer than Alabama. And there you have it.
So you're in with Texas being back, baby.
I'm in with Texas being back.
Better you than me, my friend. Better you than me.
Okay.
Here's what I've got, okay? Let me talk through mine. Mine isn't all that different from yours, to be clear, but I've got as my first 4 seeds Clemson at the 1, Alabama at the 2, Penn State at the 3, Texas as the 4. So 3 of the 4 are the same for you and I. I'm just way higher on Clemson. I'm really high on Clemson. I will go down with the Clemson ship this year for sure. I think they're going undefeated in the regular season. I think they are winning the ACC crown.
Okay.
I think they are winning 2 playoff games and getting to the national championship.
Yes.
I've got my bracket up on the screen now for those watching the video. By the way, I will post these brackets out across social media, out on our Patreon, so that you can go out there and give us your comments on what you think is right and wrong, okay? Here is how my first round matchup's set up. I've got Ohio State as the 5 winning over the 12 Boise State. I've got Georgia, the 6 winning over the 11 Texas A&M. That game would be friggin' awesome, by the way, in Athens.
Yeah.
I've got Notre Dame winning a cold one over Arizona State, my 10.
Okay. A Taylor Kelly rematch? I want
That's
to
a
say.
deep cut. That is a deep cut.
Who was the quarterback that year? Okay, continue.
And then I've got your Oregon Ducks as the 8,
Okay.
hosting a game and winning out over the 9 Kansas State. So what's different about my bracket versus yours, I've got 2 Big 12 teams in this thing.
Yes.
And I really struggled with who that last team was going to be. I went back and forth a million times. At one point, I had Illinois in, but then I looked at Illinois' schedule and I looked at Illinois' team, and I listened to the conversation we had with Brett, and I didn't have the heart to do it. I thought about Indiana, but Indiana's schedule, I just don't trust that they're going to be able to navigate that and make it the full way through. They would have to go, in my view, 11-1.
They would have
10-2.
to beat Penn State or Oregon, I believe.
Yeah.
Both of whom I think they get on the road.
I stand by what I said on the episode we did with Josh. At LSU, I think will have a case to be made to get into this, but I think they're going to have too many losses on that schedule.
Yeah.
And I think it's ultimately going to keep them out of this field. And again, I thought about Pitt because, I'm high on Pitt.
Mm-hmm.
I think Pitt's going to have 3 losses. I think they might play Clemson for the ACC title game, but it's going to be too many losses to get in. I am not high at all on Miami, even though I have had some second thoughts there. So ultimately, I've got the ACC with 1 team, the Big 12 with 2, the Big 10 with 3, and the SEC with 4. That's where I came down on this thing.
I have, in my right effing there potential, I have Indiana for the reasons you laid out. Schedule-wise, it's going to be difficult, but I like their starting point of how well they're coached, who they brought in at quarterback, what they return on both sides of the ball. I'm good with that. But yeah, it's a schedule thing. I have Auburn as potentially in this conversation, Ty.
Come on, man.
I'm
There's
just
no chance.
Telling you.
There is no chance.
I'm just telling you now.
Okay.
What is
All right.
Auburn as a program, if not a team that as soon as you think they're good,
All right.
they're not.
Okay.
As soon as you think they have a ways to go, there they are. I have Texas Tech right there. Just potential-wise.
Listen, we're all just throwing darts at this point.
I know.
So I can't be too harsh on this.
I know.
I understand where you're coming from.
I'm just saying, if roster-wise, quarterback experience, I'm not a big Baron Morton guy, but he is experienced, both on the field and in the injury tent. A lot of injury tent experience. I have USC as potentially right there. I know I'm higher on USC than you are this season.
But you could see it. Like, even I could see it, and I'm not super high on USC.
Right.
But it doesn't take that big of, like, a mental exercise to talk yourself into how USC could get into this playoff field.
I would say all of these teams need to benefit from injury luck.
And that's true for everybody.
Well, it's not true for everybody. Like, Georgia can take an ACL tear to an outside linebacker much more so than a lot of teams can. I'm just saying, of the teams that, like, if Texas Tech has unusual injury luck, they've addressed enough needs that if they can win, more 50-50 games, don't give up huge, there's a lot of ifs for all of these teams that are in the 13 to 21 range. But I think those teams have the talent, have the coaching, and, might have a twinkle, a little glimmer in their eye that leads them to at least November conversation.
Let me talk through the rest of my field
Please
here.
do.
As we go into the quarterfinals, I've got Clemson over your Oregon Ducks.
That would be on the East Coast somewhere. I think that would be in Miami or something. Yeah.
I've got Texas over Ohio State in a rematch. So this, in effect, is me saying that Texas is going to win both times they play Ohio State.
That is
this
what
year,
you're saying.
Which may not be a smart hill to die on, but alas, here we are. I've got Penn State over Georgia, and I've got Alabama over Notre Dame.
Okay.
So my final four is Clemson, Alabama, Texas, and Penn State, essentially 1, 2, 3, 4.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to what we saw last year where it wasn't very chalky. This year, I think it's shaking out that way.
Right.
I've got Clemson over Texas, getting revenge on Texas after the game from
last season. Yep.
Yeah, the end of 2024. And then I've got Penn State over Alabama and Penn State over Clemson. I can't believe that I got to this point, but I did it. I jinxed them. I jinxed my alma mater. I am picking Penn State to win the national championship.
So when you look at Penn State, you have Penn State beating Georgia, Alabama, and Clemson.
Yes.
Like, Ezekiel Elliott through the heart of the South.
That's right.
What is it specifically when you see those matchups where you're like, something is different this year? Something that, what is that Penn State has that Georgia, Alabama, and Clemson don't quite have an answer for?
It's a good question. And I'm sure that everything I say here will be used against me at some point.
That's fine.
So,
we're putting it out into the universe, Ty.
this is the receipts episode, and this is what we got to do.
Yeah.
I think there is something to be said for getting very close, but not getting the cigar.
Okay.
And I feel like over the last 2 seasons now with this Penn State squad, and more broadly, just how they have been building it the last decade or so under James Franklin, there have been small incremental steps to get to this point. Now, I will harken back to something that I said previously. Penn State's got to win one of these big games on their schedule this year. Okay, this might be putting the cart before the horse. I do think they're a playoff team regardless. They got to beat Ohio State or they need to beat Oregon. Just one of the two. They need to prove to the fan base.
Yep.
Yes, they need to prove that they can win a game like that because, to your point, Penn State in big games has sometimes left us a bit underwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with the experience that they've got coming back this year, I think with the leaps and bounds that we've seen Drew Aller grow as a quarterback, I mean, it's easy to forget how much he grew throughout the course of last season, even though there were underwhelming elements to it. I give you that. But I think he got a lot better under Andy Kotelnicki. Having that backfield back, having the line in front of him back, there is just so much that they build upon now that other teams are kind of starting anew, right? You don't have this combination across the board where even if you look at these top 4 teams, Alabama's going to have a new quarterback. They might like their quarterback a lot. I happen to like Ty Simpson. I think he'll be fine, but that's a new situation. Georgia has a lot of new with its offense. It's not all intact. Texas has basically a brand new offensive line. I'm sure they'll still be solid. Also a new starting quarterback, a new full-time starting quarterback who we believe in to a great extent.
Yeah.
But still, there's a lot new. Clemson may be the exception as part of this conversation because they also have a lot back, which is part of why I have them playing each other in the national championship. So I am enticed by the experience that Penn State has coming back. I think there will be a second-year boost on offense now with Kotelnicki and basically the same cast of characters. And then furthermore, I think bringing Jim Knowles into the equation is going to make the defense a little bit tougher to game plan around and a little bit more ferocious up front.
Yeah. Questions about year 1 Jim Knowles at various stops?
Absolutely. So I like that combination for Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
I think the schedule sets up well, at least to get them into this field, even if they're not the 3. And I like the depth that they have across the board. I like their depth. I think they will be a very, very difficult out, especially if you give them a week of rest against teams like Georgia, who in this setup would have an absolute war on their hands against Texas A&M.
Yeah.
An Alabama squad that would have had to go through Notre Dame, speaking of wars.
Mm-hmm.
I just really like what they've got here. this season and how it sets up for them. So I cannot believe that I eventually ended up picking Penn State, but I think I just jinxed Penn State, Dan.
That's okay. I appreciate it. Who did I say? Did I have Oregon winning the national championship last year?
You may have, yeah.
I think I may have.
And you jinxed them. So, I mean, this is not ideal if you're a Penn Stater out there listening to this. But look, what kind of Penn Stater would I be if I've got the Beaver and Locust Avenue sign behind me? I've got Penn State hats galore that I wear on the show. If I didn't pick my alma mater in what appears to be the year or the closest they've had to the year, what are we even doing here, in the words of Taylor Twellman?
In all fairness, the seeding this year is a reaction to what happened last year with Oregon and getting Ohio State early and whatever. That's fine. I still stand by my statement that get who you need to beat early. But alas, here we are. Okay.
Here we are.
So our brackets are somewhat similar. We disagree on some placement, and your wild card. Essentially, your wild card is Texas A&M.
Yep.
And I guess Kansas State. You have Miami not in this.
No.
So 1 ACC, 2 Big 12. I have 2 ACC, 1 Big 12.
That's right.
So you have Kansas State and Texas A&M as your sort of outsiders crashing the party.
Yep.
Texas A&M wins double-digit games with frequency and regularity. So they're right there, right?
Yeah. Maybe not. But I like the team this year. I do. I stand by that.
Okay.
And again, the teams that there were like 9 teams that I really waffled on and thought about maybe putting in. That Arizona State was the last one in for me because I had K-State winning the Big 12. But ASU ultimately is where I came down. And I stand by what I said, that it could still be Kansas State playing against Iowa State for the Big 12 just because of who they play and non-conference matchups. Remember, Iowa State's got that game against Iowa very early on, which I think they're going to lose.
Right.
I'm betting on Iowa in that matchup. Just bigger picture if we zoom all the way out. But I considered Pitt and Miami and even Georgia Tech, Iowa State, Arizona State I went with, but Illinois, Indiana, LSU, Ole Miss. I'm looking at my list here. There's a good collection of teams and a bunch of different ways that you could play this if you really want to. But I'm on Penn State.
I like Ole Miss's schedule, by the way, for my wild card. I think who they get, when they get them, it can be really, really nice. Thank you very much. There's something also about like the year after the year. I don't know if that's like the T. Martin corollary, that Peyton Manning leaves and T. Martin immediately wins a national championship for Tennessee. There's something about that, the year after the year, that happens in college football that I can't shake. So last year was supposed to be a year for Ole Miss. I think this year is going to be the year. So I'm buying low. I don't know what they are in the AP or the first AP, somewhere around 20, something like that.
Yep.
So that's my pick.
What other predictions do you got? Do you have like awards like Heisman or Coach of the Year or any of that stuff? You give any thought to that?
Well, if I'm going to put Ohio State as the number 1 team in the country and good enough to get over the hump and beat Michigan, get over the hump and not get over the hump, but to beat Penn State, to beat Texas, like something's going to have to work out really, really nicely at quarterback. So my Heisman winner is Julian Saiyan.
Whoa. Do you have him going full Super Saiyan?
I think so. Why not? Of course. That's something.
That's my Julian Saiyan sound this year, by the way.
Oh,
he's going to go Super Saiyan.
Okay. That's anime something you told me?
That's Dragon Ball Z.
Okay. Gotcha. Noted.
Yeah.
I have Coach of the Year as Lane Kiffin. Again, if I'm planting the flag as Ole Miss breaking through as a playoff team, that means Lane Kiffin's coaching job this year, both with regard to Austin Simmons, the portal, navigating this schedule, taking advantage of opportunities, will be exceptional. Lane Kiffin, Coach of the Year.
I've got Cade Klubnik winning the Heisman.
Okay.
If Clemson goes undefeated, wins the conference, and is the number 1 overall seed, he's going to win the Heisman. And I feel confident saying that because they will have to put a lot more on him, at least to start. And that's when they play a team like an LSU, right? Like they're still trying to figure out who their running back's going to be. And I don't know if any of us at this stage in the middle of August can confidently say that they're going to be effective on the ground. Like I like their options, but we know a lot more about Cade Klubnik. I think we know a lot more now than we did a year ago about what they've got out wide. We feel better about what they've got out wide. Cade Klubnik is having a monster season if this goes the way that I predicted.
Okay.
So he would be my bet. I looked earlier. It was like 9-1 on the Heisman. If you like Heisman betting, that's not bad odds, to be honest, for Cade Klubnik. So I've got him winning the Heisman. My coach of the year is Kalen DeBoer.
Okay.
You can make a case, obviously, for a multitude of these playoff coaches. All of them have their own claim to fame. James Franklin's another one that I considered, but I just think Kalen DeBoer taking over for Nick Saban, essentially rebooting the program to an extent in a year and a half and getting into the playoff potentially as a 2 seed, potentially as an SEC champion.
Right.
It would be hard for the voters to not put him
The only
as
reason
coach of the year.
the only reason I disagree with you on your decision, on your personal decision, is because you have Chris Kleiman playoff team and you have or playoff coach and you have Mike Elko playoff coach.
I do.
So
I do.
I think the story of those two guys would outweigh taking Alabama to the playoff, a preseason expectation, an overwhelming preseason expectation. Whereas if you're saying Kansas State is breaking through, and now he's won the conference, he hasn't taken a team to the playoff yet. It's been a 4-team playoff until last season. And Mike Elko doing this would be extremely impressive because they would be doing it at a place that has not been on this type of stage ever.
Right. Now, listen, again, you can make a case for all these guys.
No, what I'm saying is the degree of difficulty to do that at Kansas State is just harder.
Yeah.
So I think you picked your wrong guy is what I'm saying, but that's okay.
That's fair enough.
Okay.
We did get a bunch that came in from the Verballerhood as well. I put out a call.
Let's get it.
On Patreon. By the way, if you go to verballers.com, VERBALLERS.com, you can sign up for free. You can sign up for a paid tier. Of course, that supports what we do. You get episodes without the ads. You get bonus content. We're going to record a bonus episode a little bit after we record this. You get access to our Discord server and to the games that we're going to play, the weekly and the yearly games, the pick'em games that everybody gets into called Run the Board. You have access to all that if you sign up for the paid tier. If you don't want to do that.
And you get to join our board, by the way. That's why it's called Run the Board. If you finish in the top, what is it, 5?
Top 5, yeah. We do a board of directors call.
Yes.
Which we did earlier, and I think we committed to doing another one at some point like mid-season this year. So you get to be part of the board, help with decision-making, and talk through the show and all that stuff. That's sort of the
vote of confidence. We both got it this year.
Unmentioned perk on this.
That's true.
But if you don't want to go to that extreme, and if you just want to vote in the preseason poll, you can sign up at verballers.com for free, create an account. You'll go in there. You can see the link to vote in the preseason poll. We've got a bunch coming in. We'll unveil that a little bit later on this week. I don't want to do that now. I want to give more people a chance to vote in this poll. But shortly before the games go down on week 0, we'll unveil officially our preseason poll. There's no real reason to put it out super early. Who cares?
Agree.
That's where I'm at.
Agree.
So here's what we got. We got a couple Georgia Tech takes.
I mean, we already have polls out there, so it's fine.
Exactly. We got one here that says there's an oddball team that gets into the top 5, and it feels like 2007 all over again.
Yep.
With a specific focus on established quarterbacks leading teams to overachieve. Get ready for top 5 Georgia Tech, Dan. Ooh, okay.
I like it. Great.
This was not Josh Pate.
No.
This is a longtime Verballer chiming in with that one. We got a couple other Georgia Tech takes. One here saying that they go 11-2, but
so
lose
are
the
we
ACC
saying
championship.
Is this saying that Georgia Tech is going to end up in the top 5?
I believe so. Yeah.
So if they're ending up in the top 5, that means they're almost assuredly beating Georgia. It would be hard to lose that
that's
game.
That's what I got here. That's what I'm looking at. Another one here. Somebody says that they could take down Georgia.
Yeah. Or if they lose to Georgia, they would basically have to start 11-0, which means beating Clemson.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's spicy.
I
It's
like
spicy. We got another one here from our friends over at Game On Paper. Go and check out GameOnPaper.com. Not a sponsor, could be. They don't need to sponsor us. We always shout them out. They do a great job. They got a cool scoreboard that you can use every Saturday to track what's going on in college football. Get access to like all the stats all the time if that's what you're into.
Yes.
They do an awesome job. Check them out. They chimed in with Georgia does not win more than 7 games this year, Dan.
Okay, 6-6, 5-7, 7-5 Georgia. So we're talking about likely a quarterback injury or super disappointing play at quarterback that the defense can't make up for. I think that's too extreme a take because I think you could figure out some real bottom tier offenses to pair with Georgia's defense and they'd win 8 games.
Daniel says that Georgia goes 8-4 and misses the playoff, and that Georgia Tech knocks them out of contention on Black Friday.
Now, so these are not intended to be hot takes. These are intended to be
these are predictions. I gave everybody one prediction. Just one.
One prediction.
This is what
not
they came
a take
back with.
In your marrow, if you had to wager money on something happening this year, it would be this. Wild.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
We got a bunch of Oklahoma takes here.
Okay. Predictions.
Joseph says Oklahoma makes the SEC title game. John Mateer is a Heisman finalist.
Okay.
We got another one that says Oklahoma goes 10-2 in the conversation for a playoff spot, and they're going to lose at South Carolina and at Alabama.
Okay.
We got another person here saying that Oklahoma goes 10-2. And then we've got Tommy being the odd man out, saying that Oklahoma continues down the path of being the Nebraska of the SEC, and Brent Venables gets sacked after a 6-6 season.
Okay. So it was South Carolina and Alabama was one of them said 10-2 with those 2 losses.
Yep.
So that means Oklahoma's taking down Michigan at home. Not crazy. Taking down Texas and Dallas. Not crazy, but seemingly unlikely in this moment. Beating Ole Miss at home, South Carolina on the road, Tennessee on the road, Mizzou and LSU to finish out the year.
Yeah, buddy.
That's Brent Venables not just keeping his job and off the hot seat. That's Brent Venables Coach of the Year. That's John Mateer. Look, if you're talking about 10-2 Oklahoma, saying that also John Mateer is going to go to New York, the answer, of course he is.
This is why I stand by what I said on our previews. Oklahoma is the most interesting team in the country because the range of things that could go right or could go wrong.
Yeah. I said that about LSU. So, yeah, I'm nearby.
Yeah, I mean, just there is so much that could happen. That spectrum is wide for the Sooners as it is for LSU. I agree with you. They're interesting as well. But for me, Oklahoma with, I think, the clear recognition this offseason by Brent Venables that something big needed to change. Otherwise, he's going to be out.
Yep.
This is it, man. Like they are laying it all out there. So there's and look, even within the Verballerhood, we have disagreement on what this could look like for the Sooners this year. So I'm fascinated. You know that.
In that scenario, Oklahoma's in the playoff.
Not if they go 6-6, but if they go 10-2,
no, I'm saying
probably.
10-2 in the prediction scenario, they're in the playoff.
Absolutely.
With that resume,
they would have beaten so many big teams as you walk through there.
Yeah.
They would have to be in the playoff. Okay.
For your consideration on any podcast player, search Solid Verbal, find us, and hit follow or subscribe. It's just that easy.
Tyler says Texas Tech's going to win the Big 12, or Joey McGuire will be fired due to the obscene amount of money they are spending this offseason.
So this is not crazy, and it's not intended to be crazy. But if there's any school that will happily eat a disappointing buyout, it's Texas Tech right now. With what they are spending on the program, on NIL stuff. Yeah, absolutely. I can see it. Continue.
We've also got Ryan in Plano saying that Lincoln Riley returns home, but not to Oklahoma to take over as head coach at Texas Tech. So this is more of the take variety of prediction, granted, but just a little bit of spice here.
Have we had that kind of... So Lincoln Riley from Oklahoma to USC to Texas Tech. I'm trying to think of who has, without taking any breaks, jumped around to power conference programs like that. Like Urban, when he was at Utah, not a power conference program, went to Florida, took time off before Ohio State.
Right.
So I'm thinking of the names that bopped around lily pads in that specific fashion.
It's wild, man. That's wild. Let me go through a few other ones here, okay? Yeah. I don't have time to read all.
That's fine.
60 some odd.
Do the ones
we got
that
through.
Get you tingly.
Tristan says Iowa will make the playoffs at 10-3 after losing to Ohio State in the conference championship game.
Okay.
I could squint and make a case for this, Tristan.
Okay.
Because I am also very high on Iowa. Not this high. This is a little too much even for me. But I appreciate the spice. There's a lot of spice here.
I got a text from somebody that said, find you somebody that looks at you the way Ty looks at FCS quarterbacks making the leap.
Yeah.
10-3 Iowa likely means losses against Nebraska, Oregon, Penn State.
I mean,
so that means winning at Iowa State, beating Wisconsin on the road, beating Minnesota at home, beating USC on the road, and winning out beyond that. Gronowski would have to be awfully, awfully good. Coming off of, I think, a foot injury, some kind of lower body injury.
He'd need to be Cam Ward or Tim Tebow is what he would
with
need to be.
Little to no receiving pop downfield.
That we know of, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Robert says Deion Sanders will end up coaching at Florida State before the championship game kicks off.
Okay. Florida State, I think Mike Norvell's buyout is like dozens upon dozens of millions of dollars.
Correct.
That's a nobody's paid that other than A&M, basically.
Yeah.
Dozens upon dozens. Yeah.
3 people chiming in that Hugh Freeze is going to get fired before November.
That's always on the table. You could tell me Hugh Freeze will get fired before the end of August. It's on the table.
Alex says that Brian Kelly will have actual tears in a post-game press conference. I like that. That's teetering on the brink of fantasy things, which we're going to get into here at the very end.
He feels everything he feels. Yeah.
B. Roth says Rutgers receives their first AP Top 25 since 2012.
Tough for me to see. I like Rutgers, fine, but it's a lot. Continues.
It is a lot. And we will go finally to this one here.
Rutgers should almost throw a parade or like issue a press release if they receive votes. Forget getting into the top 25. Just if they receive at least 5 votes to be there, there should be some sort of infographic that says 5 votes for Rutgers.
And I will close it out with Arkansas because we had a great level of specificity with some of these Arkansas predictions.
Mm-hmm.
Don says that Memphis beats Arkansas in week 4, and that's what starts the coaching carousel. Kevin says that Arkansas will win 7 games, and Sam Pittman's going to hand the reins to Bobby Petrino. And AJ goes a step further.
Mm-hmm.
Hugh Freeze, Sam Pittman, Billy Napier will all be fired before the end of October, thus creating an opening for John Gruden to join the SEC in 2026.
Who has expressed interest. He apparently went to Georgia fall camp and was like, I want to do this.
If Florida gets rid of Napier, we would be remiss to not play back all of the Jed Fish commentary from last year.
Oh, yeah.
But we'll get there when we get there. I did want to play these. We had a few others that came in via the Reverb line. Have a listen.
Boomer! Oklahoma returns to form, going 10-2 and losing in the first round of the playoffs. A Sooner.
Hey guys, it's Jeremy in Salt Lake. This is Tyler from Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Mitch from Fort Benning, Georgia.
This is Peyton. I'm calling from a closet at my workplace.
There's always that team in the top 10 that falls out of the top 25. And I'm going with Miami Hurricanes will finish the season unranked.
This year will tie the record that was set in 2022 of teams that are ranked in the AP preseason top 25, finishing the season unranked, which was 15 teams is the record. I think this season we can see that many teams finish unranked as well.
This is finally the year that Ryan Day goes up to Michigan and beats them by 3 touchdowns. No ifs, ands, buts about it. If not, he's gone. He's only got 1 chance to do it, and this is what he's got. Let's get it.
And my prediction for the 2025 season is that Ohio State goes 8-4 and misses the playoffs.
One of Oklahoma or Auburn is deep in the conversations to make the SEC title game late in the season, and the other has fired his coach before that.
My prediction for the 2025 season is something that has not happened since 2016,
and that is that all 3 cert academies, Army, Navy, Air Force, will go bowling.
Nice.
VU will make a bowl game this year under Rich Rod during his first year back and beat those dirty Yankees from up north, the Pittsburgh Panthers.
They say it's important to be honest with yourself about things that make you uncomfortable, so here we go. Number 1, Boise State will run the table. Number 2, Boise State will make the playoff. Number 3, Boise State will win a playoff game. Number 4, I will root against Boise State the entire time. And that's not a prediction. That's a spoiler.
That is Shay. Shay is our reverb engineer.
Yes.
Even though we said only one prediction, we will give him a little bit of latitude
gets a bump.
there since
Okay.
he did such a good job mixing these up. Thank you to the Verballerhood for calling in. Again, as a reminder for the new folks out there, we open up the reverb line every Saturday. You can call in as you're watching the games. We mix these up, we put them together, and we play them on our midnight stream just as a way to, I guess, put our finger of the pulse on the pulse of the Verballerhood.
Yeah. Yes, we do.
We've got one thing left, Dan.
All right.
This may be the reason that many people have tuned into this episode, to be honest.
Play my chimes, Ty.
Predictions are aplenty this time of year. Everybody does predictions.
Play my chimes.
Only the Solid Verbal does fantasy things. This has been our go-to live show concept since we started doing live shows back in like 2016.
Yes.
This is one of my favorite things that we do. We've got more of a streamlined version of it this year because we're not doing live shows. But talk to the folks out there, Dan. Talk to the Verballerhood. Talk to the new members of our community. What exactly are fantasy things?
Fantasy things are you're drafting narratives. You're drafting an occurrence. You're drafting a trend, something that you feel like you enjoy, that you keep seeing that happens during the college football season, that you want to make a bigger note of, you want to plant a flag about. And what we have done traditionally, we've turned that into a draft. I think this year it's more of a reveal.
Yes.
That we are just going to issue our bullet points of things we either hope happen or we think might happen from either a specific or broad standpoint.
That's right. So, for example, you might say, Penn State's going to win the national championship.
Boo.
I'm drafting that. That is not specific enough.
Correct.
For this concept. These aren't all serious things, Dan. In fact, most of them aren't. These are offbeat things. These are very esoteric things within the college football world. Our brains might be the only two brains out there that notice half of this stuff. But what do you got first on your list?
As an example of that, by the way, touch screens going wrong.
Yeah, in the past, I had uncontrollable touch screens.
Yeah.
We've had weird weather situations in games.
Mm-hmm. Mascots gone wild. Live mascots going off script. Yeah.
We've had complicated scheme demonstrations on tiny studio fields.
Yes, of course.
So there's a lot of media stuff.
Yeah.
That creeps in here. One of the all-time best was you had Dean Blandino is wrong.
It's tough. We love Dean.
Just to celebrate those moments where, you know, your rules analyst is way off base.
Where it's just like, guys, I don't see how they rule this a catch. Immediately going back to the broadcast, I'm like, the receiver did come down with possession, first down.
I jotted down this year, kind of in the same vein.
Yeah.
Matt Austin is afraid to take a side.
Oh, that's great.
No offense to Matt Austin. I feel like there were numerous occasions last year where Matt Austin was afraid to take a side. So
the whole thing is taking a side.
That's the whole job.
Or
and there
like
are instances where Matt Austin does not take a side.
He sits on the fence where like he hedges. He's like, look, to my eyes, that's a
right.
fumble, but I could see how they'd say he was down. Like,
not everybody goes in cleats up like Gene Steratore.
Exactly,
you know what I mean?
right.
So Matt Austin, afraid to pick a side, is one of the items I've got on my list. What do you have on yours?
I have espionage. Okay. So we've had WikiLeaks. We had the rumors of the story about, I think it was UTSA in Memphis with a disgruntled safety sharing information.
A playbook, yeah.
We've had, playbook or signals, or we obviously had the Michigan situation and allegations. And any sort of espionage, drones, hacking, an exchange of playbooks within a briefcase, like an FBI agent being arrested for working for the KGB. Anything along those lines, espionage, I would be entertained by. I'm not going to lie.
That would be terrific. And it seems like that's in vogue. Now, we're recording this, by the way, on Thursday afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
The public will hear this episode on Sunday, and shortly before we hit the go button today, there was news that broke that the NCAA is, I guess, going to officially reveal its findings with respect to the whole Michigan Connor Stallions thing on Friday. So by the time people listen to this, there could be some actual espionage news to discuss here.
We also are rooting for a sport in which players routinely now leave a school after 2, 3, or 4 games to transfer and maintain a red shirt. And if somebody leaves on bad terms with bad blood, maybe they have some information for others.
Okay.
So espionage I have on there, as I'm hoping, but it's become recent. I have on here, Ohio State does not play at noon. I can't guarantee that this is a smart pick, but I feel like at some point...
Shouldn't you say doesn't play a home game at noon?
Doesn't play a home game at noon.
Right, because if they're away from home, then all bets are off. But provided they're at home, and there are some big ones at home.
Yeah.
This year. Now, I will say, just in looking up and down their schedule, they do play Grambling State. That game is not at noon, but it is at home. They do play Ohio State.
Ohio State plays Ohio State?
Ohio State plays Ohio.
Ohio, okay.
That's a 7 p.m. kickoff on Peacock. But in terms of like big non-conference opponents or big in-conference opponents, obviously the Texas game is going to be a nooner. They're going to have some other options here. Minnesota coming to town, Penn State coming to town, UCLA, Rutgers, both coming to town as well. Curious to see. Those game times have not been revealed yet. We'll find those out a little bit later on down the road. It will be interesting to see if they get a conference game that is not being played at noon.
Buddy, if Fox found out that people in Shanghai were willing to watch Ohio State games, they'd kick that stuff off at 7 a.m. to show Ozempic commercials. I have Texas Tech has had an infusion of money. I think that's going to be a conversation all year long.
So you just think we're going to constantly find different ways to bring that up in the broadcasts?
I think the more adventurous graphics crews are going to figure out ways to have money spouting out of oil wells, right? I think we're going to see dollar bill graphics involved with Texas Tech. And you know what?
Like Cody Campbell's face on like a gumball machine.
Oh yeah, we're going to see Goatee Campbell. There's just going to be some allusion, either explicit or implicit, to the infusion of cash that Texas Tech has had. And let me continue this sentence. And good for them.
Good for them.
Good for them.
That's where the sport's at these days, right?
Next, I have Bill Belichick thinks some college rule is absolute horseshit. Excuse my language. I think he has an immense ability to pay attention to detail. I don't think he's going to be caught by surprise by any on-field or off-field rule, but he might even adhere to the rule and then at a press conference after the game is going to like go on a tirade of like, what are we even doing? This makes no sense. This is just unbelievable that this is part of our game. There's going to be something like that. I have Greg Sankey laments that nobody respects the SEC's strength of schedule. That's too easy. That's too easy.
That one's fish in a barrel, dude.
That's going to.
He already started that. He's been doing that since July.
Correct. That is going to be the ongoing PDF presentation.
Right.
I have Hugh Freeze accepts responsibility for something, literally anything. Now, I don't think this is going to happen often, but when it hits, you're going to say, Dan told me that at some point, Hugh Freeze is going to do something completely out of character, brand new, and accept responsibility for something. Could be anything.
Right.
And you're going to say, Dan nailed that on August 14th. He absolutely did. I have Dan Mullen visibly appears to regret going back into coaching.
No, this is going to happen. This is 1,000% going to happen.
Dan Mullen has long been looking for new jobs when he's at Mississippi State, whenever. I think there is going to be something about the challenge at UNLV that he's going to have like a Joe Bluth face. It's like, made a giant mistake. He had it good. He's ESPN, cracking wise on Florida, on whoever.
Yeah.
I know he can't get coaching out of his blood. I know things are very exciting right now at UNLV for Dan Mullen. I just think there are going to be certain realities that hit him about coaching in the Mountain West or coaching a program that might have some financial issues. That's not going to be super fun for him.
I'm curious to see, I mean, because the big rub on the end of the Mullen era at Florida was that he didn't recruit.
Right.
Right. I mean, if
but
you
recruiting
win more,
is different now.
Recruiting's different. But if you win more, obviously you can paper over some of that stuff. But
yeah.
he didn't win enough, and the recruiting wasn't there. And ultimately, that was an easy case to build against a
Locker
coach,
room
especially in the SEC.
Yeah.
Locker room wasn't there. I mean, it wasn't just one thing. There was a bunch that went south. But I'm curious to see now in this new setup, and I think we're in agreement that this, even if it works, even if it doesn't work, it's not a long-term thing at UNLV for Mullen.
Right.
I am curious to see, though, over the short term, if he's able to adapt recruiting. Like, could it just be that he didn't like high school recruiting? Could it be that now recruiting out of the portal and maybe adopting the Dion strategy is something that is a little bit more his taste? I find that hard to believe.
I mean, that's what Barry Odom did at UNLV. And
that's what Barry Odom did, right? And Barry Odom was very successful doing it.
And and UNLV money is probably more excited than it was 3-4 years ago, pre-Odom. So
let's see if Mullen is able to modify his ways and be a little bit better at recruiting the portal.
I have Brett Bielema needles another coach and giggles.
No, that's going to happen.
I can't wait.
He seems like he's a mega troll.
Yeah.
It seems like this is something that he's into.
He does it on social media. He does it on the sideline. I love having it in the sport. I love talking your trash and backing it up. I have RG3 gets horned up or goes rogue, but Jason Benetti handles it gracefully and lands the plane.
Horned up RG3, I think, is what we should tagline this with.
Yes. So
horned up RG3. I jotted down RG3 ripping on ESPN, but horned up RG3 now back in the booth for Fox, I think is a great.
Just him seeing a sideline shot of like a left tackle's mom or something and saying, and Jason Benetti bringing it back to 3rd and 11, Robert. Something along those lines, I think, is kind of a sure thing. What a great pairing. Hopefully. It's either going to be a great pairing or we're going to get, 14 short weeks of fun. And everybody goes their separate ways.
And then a very long, awful announcing post,
yes.
Right? So I've got one here that, frankly, I'm a little surprised you didn't bring out of retirement.
Okay.
You know how in the baseball draft, when a player doesn't sign, he's able to go back in the following year?
Yes.
For the sake of argument here, let's just assume that this former Fantasy Things draft pick did not sign and is now eligible again. I think we have to bring a little bit of Baker Mayfield out of retirement because I've already started to see it with John Mateer.
Maybe this echoes in this tracks with Baker Mayfield's own NFL career, right? Where it started up, hit a lull, where he's bound. Where did he go? The Panthers and then the Rams for a minute. But then he just took, I think, the Bucks to the playoffs, right?
And got a huge contract.
So this sort of mirrors Baker Mayfield in our consciousness. Continue.
This was first a draft pick by you when we did a live show out in Chicago in 2018. I went back and looked it up. John Mateer having a little bit of Baker Mayfield in him is going to be all over the place this year, at least until something goes south with Oklahoma, if it goes south.
Right.
But I am drafting John Mateer having a little bit of Baker Mayfield in him.
So
that's going to be a very popular talking point.
Well, here's the thing with John Mateer, just at least physically. I don't know if he's going to have like the facial hair situation, but he's got a nice head of hair on him and he wears a headband.
There's a lot of Baker Mayfield in him.
So I'm just
saying,
just visually, there's something there. Not play style only, but play style's there, of course. He's a dual threat and put up a ton of yards, scored a bunch of touchdowns through the air and on the ground. So you're not wrong. So I think that's a good pick. But it's not just a little bit of Baker Mayfield. it's a little bit of Baker Mayfield.
Again, voice got to go up an octave.
Just a drop of the essence of Mayfield.
That's right.
That's a little Mayfield extract.
I've got one here.
Yeah.
Dave Portnoy annoys Urban Meyer.
Yeah, I have something very similar to this. Continue.
I feel like this is a near certainty. I feel like Fox is paying for this by bringing Dave Portnoy onto their pregame show.
Yeah.
But Portnoy, notably a Michigan man, Urban Meyer, notably not.
Mm-hmm.
They are bringing him on for shock value, sort of their version of the Pat McAfee experience.
Yeah.
I will be disappointed if this does not happen, but I just want to have it on the Fantasy Things roster for when it does so that people can chime in, send us tweets, leave us reverbs, the whole 9 yards, send us emails, solidverbal@gmail.com. When this happens, I want to hear from the Verballerhood because I want to be the first to tell you that it was going to happen. You already know it's gonna.
Yeah, of course.
Just calling it out here in an official capacity, the Receipts Show, to make sure that people know that I am watching for this very thing.
You know, Fox takes some personnel swings, Ty.
Really? Is this new?
Fox does take some personnel swings and see if it works out. I have Big Noon Saturday devolves into chaos. But you could also say the same thing about Game Day with the way it's been the past few years.
I mean, it's like 8 hours long. It's hard not to devolve into chaos.
True. So I think this is an easy pick. I think at some point, you know, when a news anchor was missing all of a sudden, when they were just like, oh, and Dan Rather's on assignment, right?
That's right. That's right.
There's going to be something this season where it's going to be like,
where somebody gets like mysteriously suspended.
Yeah. Rob Stone is on assignment. There's going to be something.
Dealing with a personal matter.
Right. Rob Stone isn't here this week. We have nothing on, by the way, on my list anyway, about Gus Johnson or Joel Klatt.
No. Well, we had last year that Joel Klatt would have his annual smile.
Oh, we loved Joel Klatt's annual smile, of course.
We saw it. I mean, we celebrate it here on the show.
Yeah.
And I do think we had something about Gus coming up with a couple nicknames.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was on the heels of Maserati Marv, which he beat into the ground in 1 week.
Right.
So I didn't want to go out there on Gus this year. I just sort of want to enjoy Gus in his natural habitat.
Okay. Fair enough.
I've got a couple other things here very quickly. I have a 5-way tie.
Okay.
You know, all these conferences are huge now.
Mm-hmm.
And the tiebreakers are very Byzantine. I mean, they need their own website with their own Python script kind of running behind the scenes to figure all this crap out.
Mm-hmm.
We almost saw a 6-way tie. We thought we might see a 6-way tie last year in the MAC.
Right.
I think there is an opportunity here, again, in the Big 12. It goes without saying in the Big 12, but maybe even in the ACC. I think there's going to be, as I said earlier, a bit of a demolition derby there. Not a 4-way tie. We've seen those before. A 5-way tie. Let's get real in the weeds with this thing.
So you're essentially you're saying at the top or for like the second?
No. At somewhere at the top. Maybe not necessarily at the very top, but just to decide who gets into the conference
second team to get
game.
in the conference championship game, and they're going to have to go to tiebreaker letter J. Yeah.
It would be great if there were a 5-way tie for first in one of these conferences.
Yeah.
Where we're really digging deep to try and figure out.
Mathematically, that might be tough, but yeah.
I've got that. I don't think we've ever called this out before.
Okay.
Bizarre training regimens.
I like this.
And here's what I mean by this. We've done the thing before where the new strength coach is paying dividends or the strength coach has a screw loose.
Mm-hmm.
We've always tend to focus a little bit on the
right. An interesting appearance choice, right? That the wearing a medium shirt or the mustache. Yeah.
We've talked about the strength coach until we're blue in the face, but what we haven't talked enough about is some of the goofy training regimens that players are now engaged in these days.
Okay.
For me, I have history with this. I wrote an article back in the day, and I'm showing my age a little bit here, when Jay Paterno was trying to teach Anthony Morelli how to read coverages by playing Madden.
Yes.
And I wrote an article about this, and a very prominent Penn State professor wrote to me, irate that I would even pen this,
how dare you, sir?
Questioning my journalism, to which I said, this isn't journalism. They pay me to take pot shots.
Yeah.
There are things like this going on all the time, right? Whether it's like the AR headsets or people doing questionable things with like truck tires to try and get ready for the season.
Well, have you seen the Matthew Stafford stuff?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Amortal, like he's in a trailer with infrared electronic good vibe signals.
See, the reason that this comes to the forefront is because there is a need, more to the point, for 8 hours of pregame coverage these days.
Yeah.
And somebody will find what these things are and they'll put it on ESPN. So I don't know what it's going to be this year. I know I'm being vague with the selection, but somebody's bizarre training regimen is going to show up on your Saturday morning television, and I want to be the first to tell you about it.
You want the 2025 Rob Tebow having Tim pushing trucks and chopping wood to better play quarterback.
That's right. That's
okay.
Right. And my final thing here, and this is very, very in the weeds, granted, a new eye black design. And what I mean by that is I feel like we have seen multiple iterations of how players are using their eye black.
They go biblical. They go Reggie Bush with the area code. Yeah.
They go Jackson Dart with the Anakin Skywalker look. I'm just curious to see what's next. I don't know. I mean, seeing Riley Leonard with the crosses was new for me.
Well, no, it wasn't. Tua did that. Yeah.
Tua did it, but I just feel like we saw more of it last year, right? To the extent now where it's actually in the college football video game.
Right. We've seen the passages, and now we've also seen the crosses for the past few years. Yeah.
So that's picked up a little bit of steam. I just want to see what's next.
Okay.
There will be something new. There always is.
A Venmo account written in the eye black.
Not
who did
you,
that?
John Mateer.
Oklahoma State tried to do that.
Yep.
Yeah, Venmo actually with John Mateer. And by the way, sidebar here. Whatever he was doing on Venmo, if you're paying off a gambling debt, allegedly,
right?
Who would write on Venmo sports gambling?
Nobody.
Nobody would write sports gambling unless it's a goof.
Listen.
You wouldn't write crimes on your Venmo.
For those of us who are steeped in the tradition of using the PayPals and the Venmos and the other cash apps.
Your Zells.
To pay for actual gambling things like pools and whatnot. Everybody who knows what they're doing knows that you list it as dinner.
Yeah, sandwich.
Or
golf.
As beers. Or as any other emoji out there.
Right.
You do not do sports gambling.
Escorts. So take your pick.
That is how I am certain. Escorts. Thank you. That is how I am certain that this is not a real thing. Nobody does this.
I mean, he apologized, so there is some acknowledgement that he used Venmo improperly. But I am not buying the sports gambling parentheses USC versus UCLA and I don't know. It seems very silly to me. Okay, continue. I mean, Venmo in general could continue as a fantasy thing this year.
Venmo could be interesting. Do we want to add that to the list?
Sure, just a Venmo story, any sort of digital cash transaction.
All right.
Like Hugh Freeze is completely bankrupt after investing in a meme coin. Write that down. I've gone completely broke gambling on Obby coin. Obby coin.
Broken Hugh Freeze.
Yeah. I think these are all quality, Ty. I think these are all great.
I like them.
There's a lot of innovation needed, right? So when you were talking about innovation in eye black, what about innovation in terms of the Chris Collinsworth slide in, right? When the two broadcast partners first greet the audience at home. Because there's like a Clat Gus Johnson, how do you do, right? They do something. So I want to see, because this is also this is the final year of Gary Danielson, yes?
Yep.
I want to see if he and Brad Nessler...
His seat next year.
Yeah. Right. If there's any sort of, if they're fist bumping, if there's a handshake, if there's a slide, if there's a 360, if there's a kiss on the cheek, some kind of acknowledgement. God.
Right.
That would be insane. I would love to see some sort of innovation.
A kiss on the cheek would be the fire for 1 million blog posts out there.
Correct.
You don't need to go into that.
Yeah. If there was something new and creative, like somebody doing the canoe into the frame, or like a Brian Windhorst spin when.
So you're talking about an entrance, essentially.
I'm talking about an entrance. I'm talking about a creative entrance. RG3, if you're listening, this could be your new calling card.
I mean, Cole Kubelik's got some potential as well on the sidelines.
That's true.
Cole's a high energy guy. He cares about the game. He cares about the sport.
Do smelling salts on camera for your first hit?
I could see him coming in on a parachute.
Oh, he's aerodynamic with the shaved head. Yeah, absolutely. This is what I want. I want sideline innovation. I want booth innovation. Really make me think about it.
Why don't we leave it there, folks?
Yeah.
You, of course, can always write in solidverbal@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
We read all of your comments. Sometimes it takes us a while to get around to them. We apologize. We get a lot of them. But we read all of them. We internalize most of them. We welcome your fantasy things, your playoff predictions, your awards predictions, eventually your reverbs when we open the reverb line back up on week 1.
Yes, sir.
This is a community feel here in the Verballerhood. Go on out to verballers.com. Vote in our preseason poll if you have yet to do so. Again, you can sign up for free and vote in that. If you do want to support what Dan and I do, of course, that is appreciated, but we just want to get more votes. We want to hear what the Verballerhood thinks. We will drop the preseason Verballer top 12 at some point later this week. Please hit follow. Please hit subscribe. If you have not done so yet, leave us a star rating or review. All that stuff helps.
Definitely.
The receipts have been printed, Dan. They're out there. I've got the graphics saved. As always, reach out on social media. Let us know where we're right, where we're wrong. If you're watching on YouTube, leave comments. That stuff helps. Dan Rubenstein.
That's me.
The season's just about here, my friend.
We are in what? 9 days until week 0 from this recording?
It's crazy.
Can't wait.
Crazy. For that guy over there, my good friend Dan Rubenstein, for myself, Ty Hildenbrand, for the Verballerhood, watching at home. We'll catch you all on Tuesday. In the meantime, stay solid.
Peace.